Hi there again. Welcome back to Pontypool Golf Club. Part 2, we covered pre-shot routine in part 1. Part 2, we're going to move into that sort of what I call about visualization and imagination, as I call it. And this will help in your game to really be a confident golfer. And we're going to use a lot of other sports today to kind of relate to this visualization or imagination, as I call it, to help you really start to have a lot more confidence in taking on shots. Now, visualization is quite a large topic, but what I'm going to try and do is make it really, really simple. And we all visualize. We do it in many different ways and fashions and forms, and we might use visualization in everyday life. I tend to use it without me noticing. When I'm driving, for example, my car, I'm visualizing in front of me, and I'm trying to see what the traffic's going to do beforehand. And I'm trying to weigh up things, and seeing what's going to happen, almost proceed to see what's going to happen a minute or two in front of me, and visualize how I'm going to move into the next lane at some stage. Now, coming away from the driving scenario, but coming into other sports you might be able to relate to. I used rugby as one earlier on, the best kickers in the world. And I was watching some rugby not so long ago, going back probably 30 years plus, when they were playing in the time where they would put the ball on a bit of sand, run back and just run up and kick it. And they would literally take 5-6 seconds to do that. And then I went in to see it sort of 20 years ago when you had your Paul Thorbans, and they started to develop a routine to what they were doing. And they learned quite quickly about visualization. And you'll see nowadays with the latest kickers how they go through this routine, but more importantly, how they visualize. You'll see their eyes looking up and down the posts, trying to picture the shot beforehand, how it looks through the air, and so on. And I was listening to an interview with Halfpenny, the Welsh kicker, who was saying about how he practices with no one around, but he has to imagine there's thousands and thousands of people around him, and he imagines that scenario. And in fact, they sometimes pre-rehearse it by going to the stadium that they're playing in, putting on their kit, going into the same spots, going into those scenarios, imagine the people, the smell, the colour, everything, to sort of get them comfortable with that environment. So when they do get into that situation, they're able to deal with it far better and be a little bit more relaxed and not so nervous. So pre-shot routine that we did in part 1 into visualization helps you really be confident, a bit more relaxed over your shots and a bit more trusted in what you're doing. So rugby is another sort of example of that. But you watch someone like Linford Christie, who won the Olympics in the 100 metres, and how they stand on the starting line before they take their setup, and how it goes through their mind how they're going to do their 100-metre run beforehand. They go through every single step, seeing them crossing the line first. Really builds up an awful lot of confidence. And you'll see this in all kinds of sports. The racing drivers sat in their racing driving car before they start, and they'll be going through that race probably even the night before in bed. I remember when I used to play before tournaments, I would actually go through every single shot at the golf course that I was playing at in this tournament, and how each shot was going to be positioned, where it was, and what I was going to do, and how I was going to hit it, where it was going to finish, and pre-planning that before I played my round. Don't be frightened to take that on board and have a go at that, because it's amazing how it really settles you into your round of golf when you turn up and play, that you've kind of played this round before and you're going to try and see if you can match up to what you were thinking beforehand. So visualization and imagination, and like I said with part 1, that is built into your pre-shot routine, and I use it a lot when I'm stood behind the golf ball, picturing that shot, the flight, how it's going to look through the air. And most amateur golfers, unfortunately, what they tend to think when they're behind the ball or just at a dress position is, oh, there's out of bounds down the right-hand side, or there's a lake to the left, or there's those trees I don't want to go in, or I'm always going over there when I'm hitting this tee shot. So straight away there's negative thoughts going through their minds before they've hit the ball. And I tend to find that's because they haven't got a great pre-shot routine. They don't visualize very well. So what I want you to do is picture your best shots. When you've hit your best shots, what do they feel like? What do they look like? And you've got to sort of record that in your head. So when you turn up on that tee and you know when you've hit that good tee shot, you can emulate that by going through your mind before you've hit the shot, how that looks. Breeds good thoughts, breeds good confidence, and that's something I really want you to take on board. So build that into your pre-shot routine, visualization with every single shot you play. I remember as a kid on a putting green, hours of practice, and I used to set myself up to when Seve won the Open, Seve Ballesteros, and that famous putt he held from a certain distance, it must have been 12 feet or so, maybe a bit longer, and I set up the same putt and I try and emulate the same thing, and that's visualization or imagination, imagining myself being in that situation and how much pressure must have been there on him, and how he did that, how he dealt with that, and trying to recapture it. The more you put yourself in those sort of pressure situations, the more relaxed you get about it. You get more, I guess the word, used to it. So don't be frightened to recreate these sort of pressure situations when you're practicing. Put yourself in that environment that you think, right, this is to win the Open, or this is to win a club tournament that I'm playing, or I'm playing against someone else, and this particular putt or this particular shot to hit the fairway. Create that pressure situation. Not only will it challenge you and it gives you something to focus on, it will help you get a little bit more settled when you get into those eventual positions that you have to play. Again, another scenario is golfers will tend to find that they have a great round of golf going, and someone might say to them, oh, you've got a great round going, or your scorecard looks really good, and it kind of puts the kibosh on the whole round. And that's because golfers are not necessarily used to being in those situations often. Now, the key is the more you get into those situations, the more comfortable you get with them. So key is to try and do it more often, obviously, and that comes down to recreating those situations on the practice area, on the driving range, and rather than just hitting golf balls, that you're trying to have a particular drill or a particular so many shots within a target to create that pressure environment. So I'm just going to go through pre-shot routine. We're going to add a bit of visualization. So I got my railway track set up here. Just set my golf ball up. So I'll always do this visualization normally behind the golf ball. And let's say I want to picture a little bit of a draw on the golf ball. I want to draw this into the green. This is what I'm seeing before I hit it. Still got that in my mind's eye. I just want to see that shape golf shot. A little bit of a draw. There we go. I'm happy with that. Just on that left side of that green. For me, that sort of shape is where I'm feeling comfortable. That's the shot I can kind of trust. But don't be frightened to have a play around with this. Create those pressure situations. Use the visualization and the imagination. Go back to your childhood. Think about your favorite sports person and look about how they do things. When you're watching sport on the television, what are these players doing? Even the free kickers, Cristiano Ronaldo taking a free kick in football, how he goes through that routine and what he's visualizing, seeing the ball in the back of the net. But use it. It's a great tool. It's a big subject, it's a big talking point, but don't be frightened to look into it and experiment. Any messages you want to send me about it, please do. If you've got any requests, please also message us on that. I look forward to seeing you next time. Please subscribe to our page, Leon Warren PGA Professional, and we're on YouTube. I look forward to seeing you next time. Enjoy your golf.